This is the Voice of Early Childhood podcast. Hiya, just a really quick message from me. I'd really love to ask for a little favor from those listening and watching. So wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching on, whatever platform it is, please do hit the subscribe button. This really helps the Voice of Early Childhood to continue putting out those thought-provoking episodes and continue making sure that we share those diverse voices and give you the topics and guests that you want to hear from. And for those of you who already subscribe, thank you very much. This helps so much. And everyone, thank you for listening, watching, and supporting the Voice of Early Childhood. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Early Childhood podcast. My name is Angelica Solinska. I'm your host, and today we have an episode in partnership with T150 Energy, and we are joined by the owner, Matt Small. It's great to have you on, Matt.
It's great to be here, Angelica. Thank you very much.
So Matt is here to talk to us about basically saving costs for early years settings and being able to reinvest that back into the setting, the children, families and staff. So before anyone who's listening or watching this thinks, great, this is going to be a sales pitch. No, it's not. So Matt is not trying to sell you something new. He's actually going to share with us how settings can save money on what they already spend a lot of money on because they don't know that this thing exists. So Matt, please do tell us about this fantastic thing called the payback scheme. What is it?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very simple. As an energy broker, we help organisations with their gas and electricity contracts, and obviously sourcing them the best contracts for their individual sites, their estates, depending on how the business is built up. When we are then successful in doing so, we make a donation back to that same organisation. It varies, depends on how much obviously the organisation spends, but those donations can be anything from hundreds of pounds to thousands of pounds. That is the payback scheme in a nutshell. You review your energy costs and we make a donation back to you.
So you save money and then you kind of make a bit of money as well, basically, as a nursery, for instance.
Exactly. So as a nursery, we always aim to try and save people money. However, I'll be very honest with this. A lot of people say to me, look, Matt, are you going to save us money on our energy costs? The bottom line is I don't know until I know what you're spending. Anybody who comes up to you and says from the get-go they are going to save you money on your energy costs, they're lying. They don't know. The reality of it is, in this day and age, costs are constantly increasing. It's our job to ensure that you have got the best rates. We can't guarantee the savings, but we can guarantee getting you the best rates and the right length of contract. And then the cherry on top of that is through the payback scheme. We then make an actual donation back to your organisation to use as you see fit.
So, well, if there is money to be saved, basically you get that donation, and it kind of seems almost too good to be true in a way. So is there a catch? You know, how does this actually work? And also it's something that is not so widely kind of recognized out there. It's just your company that's doing this.
Yes, certainly as far as I'm aware, we are the only business that donates back. The organisations or the sectors, should I say, that we donate back to is the care sector, the education sector and the charity sectors. So as we've alluded to before, we procure new energy contracts. Regardless as to whether there is a saving or whether there is an increase in cost, we still make a donation back to that organisation. The reason why the payback scheme came about is from my own personal experience, having received care from the NHS and charities. It was my way of really wanting to pay it forward. Long and short of it is, back in November 2020, I was diagnosed with a colloid cyst in the third ventricle of my brain, and I was told that I had 6 months left to live, and I was at risk of
Wow.
sudden death.
Mm.
So without the care sector, without the education sector, without the charity sectors, which do so much for all of us within the UK, I certainly wouldn't be here. So last year, beginning of last year, I launched the payback scheme, and it's my way really of just, like I say, paying it forward for the
Mm-hmm.
amazing help and support I received back in November 2020, and over the subsequent years, because it's like life, it's been a journey, but it's
Yeah.
my way of giving back, and the goal is to put £1 million back into those three sectors.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's, yeah, really, really huge goal and really admirable. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like the right thing to do. I'd never really knew over the past few years how I was going to go about doing that,
Hmm.
or what it was going to look like. And then I sort of realised, actually, with our business model,
Hmm.
it was actually quite straightforward for us to do something that is actually going to help businesses.
Hmm.
And there's certainly lots of examples I can give where, we've donated, might have only been a couple of £100, or, £600, or a couple of £1,000. But that money that's been donated back to those organisations has gone on to support wider things within the
Hmm.
organisation. So it's, yeah, to blow my own trumpet, I am quite pleased with it.
Yeah, and you should be, because there's a lot of ways. There are, of course, a lot of ways of giving back, and the big thing is giving up your time for charity and things like that. But I guess you found another way where you could give back through your business, your job, your day to day, and actually help settings to save that money, rather than just kind of giving some time. So there's kind of, it's like a step further as well, isn't it? It's supporting other businesses in terms of, the business side of things, rather than giving some time to them, which is also obviously
Yeah,
helpful.
absolutely. It's not just about the donating back part as well.
Mm.
It's about educating businesses, because
Hmm.
certainly, ultimately, at the end of the day, we are energy brokers. That's what the company does. We
Hmm.
broker deals for gas and electricity. I don't like the term broker, though, because it throws up, as far as I'm concerned, far too many negative connotations, because
Mm.
there are some bad examples of brokers out there. I see this on a daily basis where organisations have been willfully misinformed by the broker to the broker's benefit, or just misinformed in general,
Hmm.
or businesses, with the greatest of respect, think, do you know what, we can do it better ourselves, and some of them can, but I do read the annual reports. I do read the stuff that most people in the general public wouldn't bother to research. So I've got a very good understanding of where the energy market sits at the moment, and what it's likely to be doing over the course of the next couple of years. So
Hmm.
we're not just offering a donation back; we are offering the support, the correct information, and also as well to. I'm very protective over my clients, because I'm almost being my client. I want to ring fence you,
Mm.
so that you don't have to talk to other brokers, because it's almost my way, as to a degree, of protecting you
Mm.
from some of the other organizations out there who are really just in it for the quick win rather than
Yeah.
the long-term business relationship.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And then for yourself as well, I guess you want to retain these relationships as well to keep working with them. So in terms of the other kind of support that you can give, what does that involve? Like you said, educating, for instance, nurseries around energy prices and things like that, and looking at what their spending is currently like, and then maybe forecasting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the key aspects of what we do. So We do this completely free of charge, regardless as to whether organisations are existing customers of ours or not. We carry out a full analysis and forecast on organisations' energy costs. Because what we tend to find is most businesses do not look beyond their current contracts. So you might maybe sat there listening to this and think, well, I've got 2 years left on my contract. I don't need to think about it for at least another 12 months or 18
There's a
months.
lot of other things to think about in the setting than, 2 years ahead in terms of your electricity costs.
Absolutely. And it's never going to be at the top of the agenda until it gets to that crunch point where it needs to be dealt with. So where we come in, we are your unpaid provisioning team. We are your unpaid, so like facilities management team, however you want to put it, but it's our job to make sure that when it's time to look at your energy costs, we're there to do it for you with minimal fuss for yourselves. Now, when I mention obviously looking beyond your contracts, the knowledge is so important to know, well, we've got 2 years left on our contract, but what is the energy market likely to be doing when that contract ends? Are we going to be paying a lot more than what we're currently paying now? Or is it going to be less? And at least having that knowledge can offer you support in so many different ways from budgeting and accounts, because it's not going to come as a nasty shock if you've left your energy renewal to the very, very last minute and you're finding out that all of a sudden you've got to find an extra £5,000 a year.
God, yeah.
Well, if you knew about that potentially happening 2 years ago, you could have put into the business plan of how you are going to prepare for an increase of £5,000 a year on your energy costs. So that's really where we come in with the free analysis and on the forecasting.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like I said, nursery managers, owners, and the same, I guess, in the care sector as well. They, like I said, don't have time to be really looking at these details and kind of, with a fine tooth comb. Like it's a lot that they are dealing with on a day-to-day basis anyway.
Absolutely.
And when it comes, I even know for myself in terms of, I guess it's the same for people who, just kind of personal costs at home, not necessarily in the business, when it comes to renewing a contract. And then you think, that's come around so quickly and I just don't have time. And you kind of think, is this going to be a saving? Is it not? You get a quick quote somewhere and it's a little bit cheaper than the one you currently got and you just go for it. But actually, you don't have time to look at all the details and how much you're actually spending and all these kinds of things. Certainly not in terms of like forecasting years ahead, and also not having that detailed knowledge of the energy market, and that's your expertise. And it's important for, I think it's important for people to, in everything in life, I guess, to realize their limitations and go and seek support and advice from people that do have that expertise, because we can't hold all knowledge, obviously. So in terms of navigating the energy market in early years, what is that currently looking like? What are kind of energy prices looking like now? Because obviously a few years ago they were absolutely insane.
Yeah, 100%. Certainly with regards to gas and electricity during 2022. Anyone who had to look at their energy costs during that year, it was absolutely crazy. We saw daily changes, sometimes 3 times a day. The prices were changing.
Wow.
We would literally put together a contract in the morning. By 11 o'clock, the energy provider would have contacted us and said, that contract we did for you this morning, forget about it, we're scrapping it.
Oh my God.
It was that chaotic. I think there was about 4 months in 2022 where we couldn't even put a quote out because the energy companies were just not taking on any new business. And they weren't even looking at renewals. They were just leaving people on rolling contracts. So although we have seen the prices decrease, they are not going to be getting back to where they were pre-2022. It's as
Yeah.
straightforward as that. And it's understanding the market to get the most out of it. Now, a lot of people, if you were to say to them, well, do you know what, you're probably better off taking a 3-year contract, they're going to go, I don't want to commit to 3 years of these high energy prices. Well, the bottom line is you are probably better off committing to a 3-year contract than you are taking a shorter contract. And again, this is where our knowledge and expertise comes in, because we've done all the reading of the documents from, the Cornwall Insight and the government documents and everything else that is in there in the background, that no one is going to be sad enough when they're sat in front of the TV to start Googling and then reading through them. So they've got an idea as to what actually is going to happen with the energy market. Thankfully, I am that sad.
This is your job.
Yeah, this is it. And I'm nosy, and I'm intrigued. I want to know I like to know what is going on. I want to know what's going on. And I want to be able to inform my clients to the best of my ability that I can. So certainly everything is indicating that these high prices are here to stay till 2028 and beyond. Everything is there to indicate that. Proof is in the pudding, even with the rates. We saw a rate increase even yesterday on electricity by 0.5 of a penny, and gas went up yesterday by 0.3 of a penny. Now, yes, there's always daily fluctuations in energy costs. However, that's significant because it was literally a midweek increase put out by the energy companies, which isn't normal. My clients who took 1-year contracts last year, I advised them to take 3-year contracts. They're renewing their contracts now, and their energy costs have already gone up by £12,000 from last year because the rates have increased. So if they'd have taken a 3-year contract last year, based on the rate increase, they would have actually saved an additional £50,000.
Oh my God.
Whereas
that is a lot.
Yeah, if you think about it logically, over the course, if they'd have taken 3 years, with the increases since last 12 months, and then the increases we're going to see in the second 12 months of the 3-year period, that's effectively a saving of £25,000. Whereas now, I'm going to be having the same conversation with them again and saying, I still think you should take a 3-year contract. And if they take a 12-month contract again, I guarantee that they will probably either be at the same level this time next year or potentially a slight increase. So it'll only cost them more money. So you can see why taking a 12-month contract is actually a false economy. You're better off locking in. And the other reason why you're better off locking in for 3 years is because you don't have to think about it. Again, you've got your budget security. You know what you're going to be spending for the course of the next 3 years. You know what your monthly bill is going to be. You've got that budget security locked in, and that's one less thing as a business owner, and especially in early years when you've got everything else that you need to be thinking about. It's something you can take off the table, or you can take off the table of one of your employees, however it works.
Yes, and especially currently in the early years sector, there is the recruitment and retention crisis that all settings are struggling with, and just there's a lot of settings closing down. There's a lot of financial struggles. So something like this, when you say settings can be saving thousands of pounds, it would really help a lot.
It's one less thing to come and kick you in the backside.
Especially as a business owner. When you get a lot of that anyway.
Absolutely. And I've spoken to so many early year settings. I've been involved with the trade shows, on meeting business owners. The one thing that is always clear, everyone is out to try and provide the best service and care that they can, but they are constantly being hamstrung by cost increases, the government changing policies,
Hmm.
cutting funding, putting up national insurance.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything it's just a pushback on allowing allowing it most businesses, not just the early years, but across the board,
Hmm.
everything. It's just a pushback on trying to let you achieve and grow.
Hmm.
Nobody seems to be wanting to make it easy,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
is so important. Early years education is massively important. Yeah, I've got two kids, they're 13
Hmm.
and 11. My wife's a secondary school teacher. Without education, we don't have our nurses, we don't have our doctors, we
Hmm.
don't have solicitors, or we don't have people working in the early year setting. We don't have people aspiring to do things because of people who have taught them and looked after them as children. We are so
Hmm.
privileged in this country to have what we've got, and this is why I launched the payback scheme in the first place, because
Yeah,
it's
that makes sense.
we need to we need to support these organisations and not be holding them down.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And like you just said, it really does make sense where it all ties in, for you with the support you got from the NHS after your accident and after your operation, sorry, and then how all of that feeds into back into education and education into all these industries that are
Yeah,
supporting us. Of course, yeah, it makes sense that you would want to give back as well through your business and also be in a business and understanding how tough it is. I think that's important because a lot of the time in early years, we always say profit is a dirty word or business and we don't want to talk about it so much, but actually it is a business, and early years nursery is a business, and it needs to make profit in order to
charity.
operate. Mhm.
Absolutely, 100%. I would love to be able to give out money left, right, and centre, but I wouldn't have a roof over my head. I wouldn't be able to feed my children,
Mhm.
and the wife wouldn't be able to get her holiday in the half term because being a school teacher that is
Mm.
really really important. And if I don't do that, I'm
Yeah.
so yeah. I do. I get that 100%. I think it's really the payback scheme. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. We donate money when we review your energy costs. It's that straightforward. Hopefully, yes, we can save you money, but it's not always guaranteed. But what we can do is make sure that you are being given the right information and being guided in the right way
Mhm.
without the smoke and mirrors that often comes with a lot of energy brokers out there. It's
Mhm.
there are some really really good ones, but there's unfortunately, like I say, you mentioned you're an energy broker, and most people kind of recoil in
Yes,
horror
yeah.
because straight away you're going to try and start asking me for your energy bills and selling to me and all that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. I'm not interested. I'm too lazy to do the hard stuff. I want people to work with me because they want to work with me, not because
Mhm.
myself or a member of my team are constantly hounding them 5 times a day
Mm.
to
Yeah.
try and win their business, because it's not beneficial for anyone doing that.
Yeah, yeah, and this is why I said that at the beginning of this podcast episode. That it's the work that you do is clear that it's just about giving back, really, and these settings are already spending a lot of money. Something that you can't do without energy costs. You can't do without electricity and gas in your settings.
Yeah,
So, it's just about how can we save money rather than just mindlessly, maybe, or, just in a hurried and stressed way, just keep on paying these massive fees. And I guess one more thing really is speaking about green energy tariffs, because a lot of settings, a lot of nurseries are really looking at, their sustainability, kind
yeah.
of eco side of things. So talk to us a little bit about green energy and kind of what can be done there, what exists.
Absolutely. So with the green energy side of things, you really need to know what sort of contract you're on. A lot of contracts, all contracts these days are renewable contracts. However, they may not be 100% sourced from renewable. So
Right. Okay.
it might be an 80-25 split or whatever it might be, but you need to double check. So if you are wanting to tick a box to say that you have 100% renewably sourced energy, then you need to make sure that you have certification with the contracts that you are on, basically.
Okay.
And this is always quite relevant, especially with a lot of charities that I work with. I'm not too sure, because I have limited, you might be able to tell me actually, but certainly on the early years side of things, with charities, if they want to win grants and when they're bidding for funding and so forth, one of the things that they need to show is that they are doing absolutely everything that they possibly can to achieve, net zero and reduce their carbon, etc. And one of the things on that is their electricity contracts. So if the electricity contracts are not 100% renewably sourced, then that's a tick against them rather than a tick for them.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
understanding what that is and what it looks like is key. And you do pay slightly more for it, but it's a drop in the ocean. I think it's something like 0.39 of a penny per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Which ultimately, I mean, I'm just trying to think of some examples. You'd have to be quite a large user of electricity, and I'm talking 100,000 kilowatt hours a year. Most early year settings, from my experience, are using, I've got some examples here, so like anywhere between can be 10 and 20,000 kilowatt hours a year. Okay. So I mean 100,000 kilowatt hours per year at 0.39 of a penny is £390 an additional cost a year. So on 10,000, there you go, on 10,000 kilowatt hours per year, it would be an additional cost of £39 per year. It's an absolute drop in the ocean.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's there's a lot to think about there. I guess a lot of settings in terms of like getting funding and grants and things like that. I mean, it depends on what, if it is a sustainability kind of piece of research agenda funding that you're going after, there might be certain things there. But I think a lot of settings who are very kind of sustainability focused, they are kind of intrinsically focused on that, and it doesn't matter. That kind of is not like a tick sheet exercise for them. It's them knowing, okay, is this something that is actually sustainable, and let's dig deeper into how is it sustainable, why is it sustainable, or is it just sold as sustainable and actually it's not quite that. So I think there a lot of the settings that are eco kind of focused will dig deeper, and therefore they don't mind paying a little bit more, because actually it's important and it makes that massive difference to the whole world basically, and that's what they're advocating for.
100%. It's the same argument I have with businesses who have had electric vehicle charging points installed at the offices. And I always say to them, okay, well, that's absolutely fantastic. Why have we decided to have electric vehicles? Oh, it's because we want to reduce our carbon footprint and so forth and so forth. Well, that's absolutely fantastic, but how are you charging them? I go, well, what do you mean, how are we charging them? Through the electricity. I was like, okay, so what kind of electricity contract have you got? Oh, it's just a standard electricity. So you're basically using non-renewable electricity to charge your electric car because you want to reduce your carbon footprint. Doesn't make much sense when you put it like that, does it?
Yeah, so that's true.
That's when we start thinking about, well, okay, well, let's look at the actual electricity contract to ensure that is 100% renewable. So then you can say, well, actually, because otherwise you're just charging your car on what's left of the sort of the gas-fired power stations that we still have in the UK. Because that's another reason why gas prices are so high. We don't have coal-fired power stations anymore. So what do we get these turbines kicking with? Well, we burn gas. So we're burning the gas to generate the electricity. Hence why the prices are also high.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a really good point. Yeah, kind of digging deeper and thinking, I'm making one decision to be more sustainable, but actually that decision is then kind of where it comes from, like you say, the energy tariff, the energy kind of tariffs that you're on and things like that. Are they
It's exactly the
actually
same as when organisations are looking at the buildings as well to
okay?
say, well, how can we make the settings? How can we reduce the carbon footprint inside? Okay, so we can look at the LED lighting. We can improve the windows. That kind of thing. All of that goes to help. But nobody ever sits down and goes, well, what about the actual electricity contract?
Yeah, that's true.
Because we could get that down to zero straight away.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And
Well,
also, just to go across you as well, you can even have 100% renewable gas contracts now.
oh, really?
Yeah. So that's something else that people should think about as well. You can have 100% green renewable gas on it. Only British Gas are actually offering that at the moment. So if you are really, really looking to sort of, make the dent and say that we are doing something to really try and reduce our carbon footprint, then that's something else that organisations can look at as well.
So that's really good news for settings then that are really focusing on sustainability, but also they can then save money as well if they're not already kind of on the best rate. So that's really good. I think that a lot of what you've said today has, I'm sure, really opened kind of the minds of a lot of setting owners and made them just think, at least initially, of, am I really on the best tariff? Can I be saving so much more money here and also getting back that donation through the payback scheme? So yeah, thank you for sharing so much of this. I know another thing was kind of thinking about waste and microplastics and things like that, but that's something that you're kind of currently looking into. So that might be another podcast episode in future at some point. It's a bigger topic in itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very much so. So we have started looking at the waste management side of things for organisations because, especially with early years, you've got the nappies and
yes,
you call it biohazard.
There's all sorts of complications there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, complications with the recycling as well. So making sure you have the right company in to actually deal with your waste management professionally is really important. So, yeah, I think perhaps further on down the line, that would be a good area that we can look at. I think also as well, water costs is a big one. That is massively overlooked for a lot of organisations because most organisations aren't even aware that they can change their water provider.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it was it all got privatised about 4 or 5 years back. So we're being here in the Midlands, most people have Severn Trent Water.
Yep.
Most businesses with very little concentration were moved across to an organisation called Water Plus. And by being able to switch, which most organisations can, there is always money to be saved by switching across from that provider. We did an exercise just last week with 10 primary schools in the Birmingham area. And across those 10 schools, there was an average saving of around £500 per year. When we then looked at how many primary schools actually are in Birmingham and come under the Birmingham Council, there's 279 primary schools. Looking at those savings, over the course of 3 years, they would save over £500,000 by simply just switching their water.
It's so much, and it's, like I say, it really is quite simple.
It's a massive impact. It is a huge impact on that. £500,000 in the education sector is massive. It's not to be sniffed at anywhere, but I mean, within education, £500,000, it could be doing so much more, really.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think this is, like I said, really opened our minds to, like, a lot of the saving opportunities that exist, especially at such a difficult time for the education sector, and early years specifically. Right now, there's a lot, like I said, going on. So yeah, really, really important. So yeah, Matt, thank you so much for telling us all about the payback scheme, the work that you do. It is really important, and really great to see that you are really trying to, like we said at the beginning, give back as well, and not just make money and keep it all to yourself, and that's it. You're
Yeah,
actually doing something good here, and you really understand the sector as well.
absolutely. I think the key takeaway here for any business is understand your energy costs.
Hmm.
Get somebody to, whether it's us, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. If not, get somebody else to do it for you. Get them to look at what your current costs are. Get them to compare it where the market costs are as of now, and give you an idea as to what you are going to be spending in the future, because it just
Hmm.
saves so much hassle further on down the line. If you
Hmm.
know you've got an increase of 5 grand coming up, then at least you're prepared for it, not
Yeah,
finding out a month before.
yeah, that's just so
So
much more peace of mind.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Find someone you can work with who you know, who you trust. They are not constantly disappearing from, you have one account manager somewhere, and then
Mm.
the next week you've got a new account manager, and so forth and so forth and so forth. You need to build that relationship with organizations like ourselves, so you are always going to be getting the best,
Hmm.
the best service and the best rates.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Well, for everyone who is listening or watching, this has obviously been not the most kind of typical topic on the podcast, but also it is really a topic that's really vital, for businesses and charities, organizations, and it's really practical, and it's important to have conversations like this. Because yeah, we can't ignore kind of things like this that we just have to pay for, day to day, basically. So yeah, thank you, Matt. And so for everyone who's listening again, so to find out if you can save on your energy tariff, I sound like one of these adverts now. um, but yeah, to find out if you can save on your energy tariff, and to find out more about the payback scheme, and if you can receive a donation, then simply click on the link in this episode description and fill in the inquiry form, and Matt will get in touch and speak to you about your current costs, and about some of the things that you
Absolutely.
mentioned, that
Just going to
analysis,
interject.
the forecast. Yeah.
more
Hmm.
than more than just so like rather than,
Mm.
can you save on your energy costs, find out what you're going to be paying in the
Hmm.
future.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know Concentrate on that aspect, not what, concentrate on knowing, well, what are we actually going to be paying in the future, because
Hmm.
that's far more important than what's happening right now.
Yeah, so important to have a stable, and for the sustainability of a business, organization, charity, whatever it is, it's so important to have that future outlook. Definitely. Mhm. Okay, well, once again, thank you very much, Matt. It's been great speaking to you, and looking forward to another episode at some point when you've got it all figured out around waste management and all things like that.
Thank you ever so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.